The diplomatic reception hall buzzed with conversations in dozens of alien languages. Representatives from across the galaxy had gathered on the neutral station of Harmony Prime to discuss trade agreements and territorial disputes. Among the sea of colorful beings, Marcus Chen sat alone at a corner table, nursing his third cup of synthetic coffee. He wasn't supposed to be here. As a junior engineer aboard the human cargo vessel Endeavor, Marcus had only attended because Captain Rodriguez needed someone to handle technical specifications if questions arose. The real diplomats were busy with more important matters than a simple maintenance contract renewal. The hall was magnificent, with crystalline walls that shifted colors based on the emotional states of nearby beings. Right now, it showed mostly blues and greens, indicating the calm, professional atmosphere the hosts preferred. Marcus watched as delegates from the Zephyrian Republic discussed mineral rights with the Centauri Collective, their translator devices working overtime to bridge the gap between species that had evolved on opposite sides of the galaxy. Nobody paid attention to the human in the corner. This wasn't unusual. Humanity had only joined the galactic community 50 years ago, and they were still considered newcomers. Most species had been spacefaring for millennia. Humans were tolerated, even welcomed for their useful engineering skills, but they weren't considered major players in galactic politics. Marcus understood his place in this hierarchy. He fixed things, solved problems, and stayed out of the way when important decisions were made. It was a comfortable existence, if not particularly exciting. The sound of approaching footsteps made him look up from his datapad. A figure approached his table, moving with the fluid grace that could only belong to one species. Marcus felt his breath catch as he recognized her. She was Etherian, one of the most advanced and respected races in the galaxy. The Etherians were known for their incredible intelligence, their mastery of quantum physics, and their role as mediators in interstellar conflicts. They lived for thousands of years and possessed technology that seemed like magic to younger species. This particular Etherian was stunning even by the standards of her people. Her skin had the characteristic opalescent quality that shifted between silver and pale blue depending on the light. Her eyes were large and luminous, containing depths that suggested vast intelligence and experience. She wore robes that seemed to be woven from starlight itself, and her presence commanded attention from everyone nearby. Marcus had seen her earlier, addressing the assembly about some complex matter involving temporal mechanics and interdimensional trade routes. She was clearly someone important, probably holding a position that would make her one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. She stopped directly in front of his table. The background conversation seemed to fade as Marcus realized she was looking straight at him. He glanced around, certain she must be waiting for someone else to join them, but the nearest occupied table was 20 meters away. "Excuse me," she said, her voice carrying the musical quality typical of her species. "You are Marcus Chen of the human vessel Endeavor, correct?" Marcus nearly dropped his coffee cup. Yes, that's me. Can I help you with something?" She tilted her head slightly, studying him with those impossibly deep eyes. "May I sit?" "Of course." Marcus jumped up to pull out a chair, immediately feeling foolish for applying human manners to an alien who probably found the gesture strange. But she smiled, an expression that transformed her already beautiful features into something that made Marcus's heart race. "Thank you. That was very kind." She settled gracefully into the chair, and Marcus noticed that several nearby conversations had stopped entirely. Other delegates were staring, clearly as surprised as he was to see an Etherian engaging with a junior human engineer. "I have been watching you," she said, and Marcus felt heat rise in his cheeks. "Watching me? Why?" "You solved the heating problem in Section 7 of the station yesterday." Marcus blinked in confusion. "How did you—" Yes, there was a thermal regulator malfunction. Nothing major, just needed a new coupling and some recalibration." The station engineers had been working on that problem for 3 weeks. They were considering evacuating that entire section. Really? It was pretty straightforward once you understood that the quantum flux was creating feedback loops in the... Marcus trailed off as he realized he was probably boring her. Sorry, I'm sure you don't want to hear about engineering details. Actually, I find your approach fascinating. You see patterns that others miss. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. I just like fixing things. You do more than that. She leaned forward slightly. In the past year, you have solved 7 problems that had stumped teams of experts. The navigation error in the Proxima system, the communication blackout near the Veil Nebula, the power distribution issue on Luna Base 3. You've been tracking my work? Marcus couldn't hide his amazement. My people value intelligence and problem-solving ability above all else. We have been monitoring various species for individuals who show exceptional talent. The implication hit Marcus like a physical blow. You've been watching humanity. Among others, yes, but you are unique. Marcus felt the weight of stares from around the room. This conversation was definitely attracting attention. An Etherian didn't speak to random individuals without good reason, and people were beginning to realize something unusual was happening. I don't understand, Marcus said quietly. What do you want from me? She was quiet for a long moment, her luminous eyes studying his face. When she spoke again, her voice was softer, almost hesitant. My name is Lyra Lay. I hold the position of quantum architect for the Eastern Spiral Coalition. I oversee the design and construction of jump gates, space stations, and planetary defense systems. Marcus nodded, though he was completely out of his depth. The Eastern Spiral Coalition controlled dozens of star systems and trillions of beings. It is a position of great responsibility, Lyra Lay continued, and great loneliness. Something in her tone made Marcus look at her more carefully. Despite her composed exterior, he caught a glimpse of something vulnerable in her expression. Among my people, intellectual compatibility is the foundation of all relationships. We do not marry for physical attraction or emotional comfort as some species do. We bond with those who can truly understand our thoughts, who can challenge our minds and help us grow. Marcus felt his pulse quicken, though he wasn't sure why. For the past 3 centuries I have been alone. The few Etherians who match my intellectual level are either already bonded or unsuitable for other reasons. I had begun to accept that I might never find a compatible partner. She paused, and Marcus realized his hands were shaking slightly. Then I began studying human engineering reports, and I found something remarkable. A mind that approaches problems in ways I had never considered, that finds solutions where others see only impossibilities. The diplomatic hall seemed to have gone completely silent around them. Marcus was dimly aware that they had become the center of attention for the entire assembly, but he couldn't look away from Lyra Lay's face. I have spent the past 6 months studying your work, your methods, your thinking patterns. I have run compatibility analyses and psychological profiles. I have researched human customs and culture. She took a breath, and Marcus realized he was holding his. By the standards of my people, you are the most intellectually compatible being I have ever encountered. Marcus stared at Lyra Lay, his mind struggling to process what she had just said. Around them, the diplomatic reception had fallen into a strange hush, as if the entire galaxy was holding its breath. I'm sorry, he managed to say. Are you saying what I think you're saying? Lyra Lay's opalescent skin shifted to a warmer tone, and Marcus realized this might be the Etherian equivalent of a blush. Perhaps I should be more direct. Marcus Chen, by the customs of your people and the traditions of mine, will you marry me? The question hung in the air like a physical thing. Marcus felt as though gravity had suddenly reversed itself. An Etherian, one of the most advanced beings in the galaxy, had just proposed to him. A junior engineer from a species barely 50 years into space travel. The silence stretched until someone dropped a glass at a nearby table, the crash echoing through the hall like a gunshot. The sound seemed to break whatever spell had fallen over the assembly, and suddenly, everyone was talking at once. "This is unprecedented," Marcus heard someone say. "An Etherian bonding with a human? The implications for the political balance." Marcus tuned out the voices and focused on Lorelei. She was watching him intently, and despite her composed exterior, he could see tension in the way she held herself. "You're serious," he said. "Completely. I understand this must come as a shock. Humans do not typically arrange marriages based on intellectual compatibility assessments." Marcus laughed, a sound that came out more nervous than amused. "No, we usually start with coffee dates and work our way up." "Coffee dates," Lorelei repeated thoughtfully. "A social interaction designed to assess compatibility through conversation. I believe I have been doing something similar by studying your work patterns for 6 months." "That's not exactly the same thing." "No, I suppose not." She tilted her head. "Have I offended you? I researched human customs, but perhaps I misunderstood something." Marcus realized that despite her confident demeanor, she was genuinely uncertain. This powerful ancient being was nervous about his response. "You haven't offended me," he said quickly. "I'm just processing. This morning I was worried about a faulty plasma conduit, and now the most brilliant woman in the galaxy is proposing to me." "You think I'm brilliant? Are you kidding? You designed jump gates. You understand quantum mechanics at a level that makes our best scientists look like children playing with blocks. You've lived for centuries and accumulated knowledge that—" "Intelligence without connection is merely data storage," Lorelei interrupted gently. "I have spent 300 years surrounded by knowledge and completely alone. Do you know what that feels like?" Marcus thought about his own life, always the quiet one, the problem solver working behind the scenes while others took credit. He'd never been good at small talk or making connections with people. Most of his relationships had ended with complaints that he was too focused on his work, too distant. "Yeah," he said. "I think I do." Lorelei's eyes brightened. "When I studied your engineering reports, I didn't just see technical competence. I saw creativity, intuition, and a way of thinking that complemented my own perfectly. You approach problems from angles I would never consider, while I can provide the theoretical framework to support your innovations. You really think we could work together?" "I think we could accomplish things neither of us could achieve alone." Marcus looked around the reception hall. Every delegate in sight was staring at their table, and he could see people frantically speaking into communication devices. This conversation was going to have consequences far beyond his personal life. "If I said yes," he began carefully, "what would that mean? I'm just a human engineer. You're basically royalty." "I am a person who has found someone she wants to share her life with," Lorelei said simply. "Everything else is politics." "But the politics matter, don't they? I mean, this is going to cause problems." Lorelei's expression grew more serious. "Yes, it will. Some of my people will be scandalized. Humans are still considered a young species, barely past the threshold of galactic civilization. Many will question my judgment." "And that doesn't worry you?" "It terrifies me," she admitted, "but not as much as the thought of spending another 3 centuries alone." Marcus felt something shift in his chest. This wasn't just about intellectual compatibility or political implications. This was about 2 beings who had found something rare and precious, regardless of the species they belonged to. "There's something else," Lorelei continued. "Something I haven't told you." Marcus waited, though he wasn't sure he could handle any more revelations. "The projects I work on, the quantum architecture and dimensional engineering, they're becoming more complex." The next phase of galactic development requires innovations that are beyond the current capabilities of any single species. I believe that combining Etherian theoretical knowledge with human intuitive problem-solving could lead to breakthroughs that would benefit everyone. You're talking about changing the galaxy. I'm talking about helping it grow. Your species has a gift for seeing simple solutions to complex problems. My people have the knowledge base to turn those solutions into reality. Marcus thought about the heating problem he'd solved yesterday. The station engineers had been overthinking it, applying complicated theoretical models to what was essentially a basic mechanical issue. He'd simply traced the problem back to its source and fixed it. What kind of projects are we talking about? Lyra Lay's eyes lit up with excitement. Faster-than-light communication networks that could connect every inhabited world instantly. Defense systems that could protect entire star systems from cosmic threats. Terraforming technology that could make any world habitable. And you think I could help with that? I think we could revolutionize galactic civilization together. The scope of what she was describing was staggering. Marcus had always been content fixing small problems, keeping systems running smoothly. But the idea of working on projects that could help billions of beings across the galaxy. There's just one problem, he said. Lyra Lay's expression grew concerned. What? I don't actually know anything about you personally. I mean, you know about my work. But I don't know if you like music or what your favorite food is or whether you're a morning person. To his surprise, Lyra Lay laughed. The sound was like wind chimes in a gentle breeze, and several nearby aliens turned to stare. You're right, she said. Perhaps we should remedy that. I enjoy what you would call classical music, particularly compositions that incorporate mathematical relationships. I don't require food in the same way humans do, but I find the taste of crystallized starlight quite pleasant. And I am most definitely not a morning person, by any definition of morning. Crystallized starlight? It's a delicacy on my homeworld. I'll have to introduce you to it. Marcus realized she was already talking about their future together, as if his answer was a foregone conclusion. Maybe it was. Despite the overwhelming circumstances, despite the political complications and the vast differences between their species, he found himself genuinely interested in this remarkable woman. Can I ask you something? He said. Of course. Why me specifically? I mean, there must be other human engineers who are just as good at solving problems. Lyra Lay was quiet for a moment, her luminous eyes studying his face. Do you remember the navigation error in the Proxima system? Vaguely. It was about 8 months ago, right? The error was causing ships to miss their jump coordinates by thousands of kilometers. 3 vessels had already been lost. The best Centauri navigators were working on it, along with a team from the Technical Institute. Right, I remember now. It was a simple calibration issue. Simple, Lyra Lay repeated. You solved it in 15 minutes. But it wasn't just the speed of your solution that impressed me. It was your reasoning process. When you transmitted your report, you included a note suggesting that the error might be connected to solar flare activity from Proxima Centauri itself. Marcus shrugged. It seemed like an obvious connection. It was obvious to you, but it opened up an entirely new field of study in stellar navigation. 3 universities are now researching the relationship between stellar activity and hyperspace distortions, based on your casual observation. I had no idea. That's what makes you extraordinary. You see connections that no one else does, and you don't even realize how remarkable that is. Marcus felt a warmth spread through his chest. No one had ever described his work as extraordinary before. Useful? Maybe. Practical? But never extraordinary. Around them, the diplomatic reception was slowly returning to normal, though Marcus noticed that several delegates kept glancing in their direction. Whatever happened next, this conversation was going to be discussed throughout the galaxy. So, he said, trying to keep his voice steady, if I said yes, What happens next? Lyra Lay's expression grew both hopeful and apprehensive. If you said yes, everything would change, for both of us. Marcus nodded slowly. He could feel the weight of the moment, the sense that his next words would set events in motion that would ripple across the galaxy. "Before I answer," he said, "I need to understand something. You said this would cause problems with your people. How serious are we talking?" Lyra Lai's opalescent skin shifted to a deeper blue tone. "The Etherian Council will likely demand a formal review of my psychological state. They may question whether extended isolation has affected my judgment. Some will suggest that I'm experiencing what humans might call a midlife crisis." "Are you?" "I'm 847 years old, Marcus. By Etherian standards, I'm barely middle-aged, and I have never been more certain of anything in my life." Marcus looked around the reception hall again. The initial shock of their conversation seemed to be wearing off, but he could still feel the attention focused on their table. Several groups of delegates were engaged in what looked like intense discussions. "What about my people? How is humanity going to react to this?" "I believe your government will be quite pleased. An alliance marriage between a human and an Etherian would elevate Earth's status in galactic politics considerably." "Alliance marriage," Marcus repeated. "Is that what this is?" Lyra Lai's eyes widened, and her skin shifted to an almost silver tone. "No, I apologize. I didn't mean to imply. This isn't about politics for me, Marcus. I'm not proposing to you because you're human. I'm proposing because you're you." The sincerity in her voice was unmistakable, and Marcus felt some of his tension ease. "But the political benefits will be real," she continued, "whether we intend them or not. Your species will gain access to technologies and opportunities that would otherwise take centuries to achieve. And that doesn't bother you? That people might think you're doing this for political reasons? Let them think what they want. I know the truth, and so will you." Marcus was quiet for a long moment, considering everything she had told him. The scale of what she was offering was almost incomprehensible. Not just marriage, but a partnership that could change the course of galactic civilization. The chance to work on projects that would help billions of beings, to push the boundaries of what was possible. But more than that, she was offering him something he had never expected to find. Someone who understood how his mind worked, who valued the way he saw the world. "There's one more thing I need to know," he said. "What? Do you actually like me, or do you just like my brain?" Lyra Lee smiled, and Marcus realized it was the first completely unguarded expression he had seen from her. "Marcus Chen, you just asked one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy to marry you based on intellectual compatibility. And your first concern is whether I find you personally appealing. When you put it like that, it sounds kind of ridiculous." "It sounds perfectly human," she said warmly. "And yes, I like you. Very much. You're kind, thoughtful, and refreshingly honest. You pulled out my chair without thinking about it. You worry about boring me with technical details, and you're more concerned about my feelings than about the political implications of our union." "Okay," Marcus said. "Good to know. Also, you have very nice eyes." Marcus felt himself blush. "Thank you." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, and Marcus realized that despite everything, despite the overwhelming circumstances and the watching crowds, he felt at ease with her. Their conversation had felt natural, like talking to an old friend rather than a near stranger from an alien species. "All right," he said finally. "Yes? Yes? Yes, I'll marry you." The change in Lyra Lay's expression was immediate and profound. Her skin brightened to a warm gold tone, and her smile was radiant enough to make several nearby aliens stop mid-conversation to stare. "You're certain?" "I'm terrified," Marcus admitted. "This is going to turn my entire life upside down, and I have no idea what I'm getting into. But yes, I'm certain." Lyreley reached across the table and took his hand. Her skin was warm and surprisingly soft, with a subtle energy that Marcus could feel through his fingertips. "Thank you," she said simply. Around them, the diplomatic reception had taken on an electric quality. Word was spreading rapidly through the hall, and Marcus could see people frantically working their communication devices. Within hours, this news would reach every corner of the galaxy. "So, what happens now?" he asked. "Now we deal with the consequences," Lyreley said with a wry smile. "Your Captain Rodriguez is approaching our table with what appears to be a mixture of excitement and panic. I suspect he wasn't prepared for his junior engineer to become the center of galactic attention." Marcus turned to see his captain weaving through the crowd, his face indeed showing exactly the expression Lyreley had described. "And after that?" "After that, we begin the most interesting collaboration in galactic history." Captain Rodriguez reached their table, slightly out of breath. "Chen, what in the name of Newton's ghost is going on here?" "I'm getting messages from Earth Command, the Galactic Council, and about 15 different news networks." Marcus looked at Lyreley, who nodded encouragingly. "Captain," Marcus said, "I'd like you to meet my fiancée, Lyreley of the Etherian Coalition. Lyreley, this is Captain Rodriguez." Rodriguez stared at them for a moment, then slowly sank into an empty chair. "Your fiancé, the Etherian quantum architect." "Right." "It's a pleasure to meet you, Captain," Lyreley said formally. "I hope we can count on your support during this transition." "Support?" Rodriguez repeated faintly. "Chen, do you have any idea what you've just done?" "Changed everything," Marcus said, surprising himself with how calm he sounded. "The Etherian Council has already requested a formal meeting," Lyreley added, "as has your Earth government. I suspect the next few weeks will be quite eventful." Marcus thought about the quiet life he had been living just an hour ago, fixing problems, staying in the background, avoiding attention. All of that was gone now, replaced by something he couldn't even begin to imagine. But as he looked at Lyreley, at this remarkable woman who had seen something in him that no one else had ever noticed, he found he wasn't sorry. "I have one request," he said. "Anything. When we get married, can we have the ceremony somewhere quiet? I know this is going to be a huge political event, but I'd like at least part of it to be just about us." Lyreley's smile was soft and genuine. "I was hoping you would say that. I know a place on my homeworld, a crystal garden where I used to go to think. It's peaceful and private." "That sounds perfect." Rodriguez was still staring at them in disbelief. "A crystal garden, on an Etherian world, right." "You'll adjust, Captain," Marcus said with a grin. "We all will." As if summoned by his words, a delegation of official-looking beings began approaching their table. Marcus recognized representatives from at least 3 different species, all wearing the formal attire that indicated government positions. "Here we go," Lyreley murmured. Marcus squeezed her hand. "Together?" "Together." As the delegation reached their table and began the formal process of turning a personal moment into a galactic event, Marcus realized that his quiet life as a junior engineer was over. But looking at Lyreley, seeing the intelligence and warmth in her luminous eyes, he knew he was ready for whatever came next. The human who had been overlooked by all had found someone who saw him clearly. And in doing so, he had taken the first step toward changing the galaxy itself. The future stretched ahead of them, full of challenges and possibilities that neither of their species had ever imagined. But they would face it together. 2 minds from different worlds, united by the rarest thing in the universe: perfect understanding. And in the crystal gardens of an ancient world, surrounded by the light of alien stars, they would begin the greatest collaboration in galactic history.